Transportation Safety Administration officers began receiving back pay for working during the partial government shutdown. In Texas, a 15-year-old student shot a teacher at Hill Country College Preparatory High School in Bull Verde, near San Antonio. Authorities say the student fatally shot himself. The teacher was taken to a nearby hospital after yesterday's shooting. Comal County Sheriff Mark Reynolds said hours after yesterday's shooting that he didn't know her condition. This is AP News. Brazil has a nationwide program that lets prisoners cut their sentences by reading books and proving they understood them.
Inmates in a women's prison in Rio de Janeiro describe reading as relief from stress. Emily D'Souza says the program helps her cope and brings her closer to seeing her young son. For me, it's really great because it not only helps pass the time, but it's also an escape, a chance to step away from this environment for a bit, to think about other things, other stories, and other people besides myself. Literature professor Paulo Roberta Tonani says literature is a human right. He says our goal, which underpins everything we do, is to ensure this right. First, the right to lower one sentence through reading, to participate in this process, in this project, and second, to truly consider access to literature. Officials say reading supports reintegration, but access varies widely. I'm Haya Panjwani.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the mid-70s. Breezy southwest winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 37. By Wednesday, a chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 44 degrees. Thursday, a chance for rain and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 71. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 66.
Keep your family safe with help from Menards. From smoke and carbon monoxide detectors to fire extinguishers and more, Kidde home safety products keep your family protected in case of emergencies. Kidde detectors feature enhanced sensing technology that reduces false alarms and give fast alerts for more time to get out safely. Check out all our Kidde safety products and check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives. And yes, all the rest, because we need everybody right now in this fight across the country. Welcome to the March 31st, 2026 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube, and email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Shout out to Bob, and shout out to, I had a bunch of emails, and I couldn't get back to every one of them, but thanks, guys. Make sure you send me your emails if you have questions, you have comments, all the rest. And, of course, follow me on X, Instagram, Facebook, Spoutable, LinkedIn, Substack, and Threads and Blue Sky. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon, as well as iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Patty Vasquez driving you home, and it's The Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath. And it was great to hang out with Edwin for a little bit yesterday. Check out all of our great shows, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews, and make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to check out our daily posts and articles and our great platform that we have there. Thanks to Devin for getting us off to a good start this morning, and Mike Mercado, who's also rolling in here and keeping things cool. We have a great team, and it doesn't happen without these guys mixing up the sausage and reblending it and all those good things that they do to keep us on the rails. Over at Heartland Signal, as we always have great articles and good tools for you guys to use. And rather than reading you through the list of what we have there today, I just want to make sure you guys make your way over and always like and always share with the people that you know that are looking for additional information, looking for additional tools, and it's just a great way to do that. Let me see which one. Ohio, lots going on in Ohio, and when we talk about Heartland, obviously a lot of our articles are Heartland states. So Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Iowa, Kansas, Wisconsin, and even Minnesota. So there. Make your way over, check it out, see what we've got for you. You might be surprised. Today's guest will include Corbin Trent. And Corbin will be talking with us about how our democratic process, how should I put this? I guess the best way of describing it is, as a strategist, he's worked with people like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And he understands what it takes to move the needle with new voting groups and different voting groups. So I'm looking forward to talking with him as a strategist about where we are and some of the things that we have gotten done successfully and some things that we need to do to keep the momentum going with some of the recent elections that we've won and people that have moved forward in their runs for different offices. And he's going to be with us in the 7 o'clock hour. Dr. Debra Houry, who is the former chief medical officer for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, will be with us. And you guys know when we've had her on a handful of times in the last 9 months or so. She was a former chief medical officer. She resigned under protest, essentially, last August because of the way in which RFK Jr. was running the organization at its core. That's what it came down to. She's an educated, learned professional. He's not. But we'll talk to her. She's going to bring us up to speed on some things that she's working on with the PHNIX Project through Governor Newsom and her work now with Yale University. And I want to talk to her about some things that we should be mindful of when it comes to the climate and our health. So looking forward to chatting with her today. Got a question for you that I'll get to you after we come back from the break, which I think you guys will appreciate. And I want to get your thoughts and responses to that. But right now, as we talk about this war in Iran, check this out, progressives.
The Wall Street Journal is also reporting that the president is considering deploying another 10,000 ground troops to the Middle East in general. What's your reaction?
Well, this is honestly one of the most consequential moments that I've ever seen in my time in government, not just in Congress, but before when I worked in national security. I worked on the ground as a State Department officer embedded with the military in Afghanistan. I worked on the counter-ISIS fight. I want to take a moment to make a direct call to President Trump and congressional Republicans saying we cannot have American troops on the ground in Iran. This is going to be such a risky operation. And for what purpose? I mean, everything I see with Karg Island, it's just about adding leverage for diplomacy. When we see about potential efforts to open up the Strait of Hormuz, again, this is not an end to this war. This is something that will only prolong it and increase the risk at a time that we've seen already so many service members put at harm's way and this administration not giving them everything that they need.
What about sending in ground troops to secure whatever nuclear materials are underground or remain in Iran?
Well, this is something that has been looked at time and time again. An operation of that magnitude would likely take days, if not weeks, to be able to do. So what are you going to do? Have U.S. service members? Where are they going to bunker down? Where are they going to get provisions? The amount of supply it needed. And just keep in mind, Jake, that over half of American service members killed in Iraq and Afghanistan were killed by IEDs, often at the hands of Iranian-backed militia groups. It wasn't just the ballistic missiles that was the threat. So putting them in that kind of way is so risky. And again, at what cost? And certainly without Congress's approval, and by proxy, what that means is it would be without the American people's approval. And I just want to say there's a reason why Donald Trump is not coming before the American people for approval for this war. It's because he knows what the American people feel, which is that they don't want this, that they want a government that is focused on them, lowering costs. And not only is he not lowering our costs, he's increasing it. And now it's the American people that are paying for this Iran war.
So that was Senator Andy Kim with Jake Tapper. So here's some of my quick thoughts before we go to break. Where are the Israeli troops? I mean, in terms of direct benefit. If we look at geographics and just sort of gaming this out as best we can. I'm not a war expert. I'm a common sense person that then is driven to find out information about things like, okay, curiosity, intellectual curiosity, as Eric Grant puts it. Now let me go see if what I can find out more about in this particular space. Okay, so geographically, this is not our fight, because if Iran does not currently have, aspiration or not, currently have the missiles that can get to areas that are if we're going to be America first, then this is not geographically based on the armament that Israel has. I'm sorry, not Israel, that Iran has now, not aspirationally or building or trying to develop or, you know, all these words that they try to get us to think, oh, they're coming. They're the same garbage that Bush threw. They're coming. They're coming. Okay. So if it's geographical and we look at it like that, then why isn't Israel, who said that they're the ones that were at the biggest, they were at threat, where are their troops? Where are their boots on the ground? Why are there not Israeli soldiers and Mossad soldiers who are supposed to be such badasses on the ground in Iran? You don't hear nothing about that, Devin, not a peep coming out of Israel or AIPAC that, you know, we're sending in our troops. This is our fight. No, we're sending in our resources, our troops, our guys and gals, human beings. We got to even stop using the phrase boots on the ground. Lives on the ground, lives in peril, lives in the direct recipients of all that the Iranian Guard is prepared to deliver from those caves and from those hills and from all those secret places that they've been just waiting for us to do this. We talked yesterday with Mike Lofgren about the mining that's taken place there. We no longer have mine sweeps in the waters. So that we talked about that yesterday. But I want to know, where are the Israeli troops? Why has Netanyahu not said, we're going to match you? You send in 10, we're sending in 10. How come, guys? Why does Israel always get a damn break when it comes to the Middle Eastern fight in terms of what we do? Why? We always give them a break. Maybe it's because they're orchestrating it. They orchestrated their own break. That's what I want to know. Part one. Partly because they're messing around in Lebanon, based on all the reporting, to take over Lebanon. So where are the Israeli troops? That is a question, and maybe, okay, we'll press a pause on that, but we'll come back to it. I want to know where. All right. The second part of this is what Senator Kim said about the American people, and I thought about this over the weekend. If you think about this purely from a number standpoint, if somewhere in the range of 78, I think it's 72% of people in America do not agree with this war. Maybe the numbers are higher, but whatever the number is, my point is about representation. Members of Congress are there to represent. They're representatives of their congressional districts. So if they're there to represent the interest of the people that voted for them, then every Republican that is in a district or represents a district where the majority of the people from that district red or blue voters or independent voters that do not want this war, then they are going against the will of the people of their district, and they should be brought to the table about that. Why did you vote for something that I did not want as your constituent? Those are the kind of questions we have to ask them. I don't want this war. You are representing me, not you. You're representing us, not them. So why are you standing behind this war? Why are you in lockstep with this war? You represent my interest, and my interest is not to be at war. So that is the reason why, to Senator Kim's point, that Donald Trump did not go to Congress, because he knows that the will of the American people, the wishes of the American people, is to not be at war, because they would have had to then present why we were doing this and what our exit strategy actually would be. They know that it's against the will of the American people. They know it's against the will of the folks in their districts. That's why Mike Johnson isn't pushing back and saying we're going to hold hearings, but more importantly, we're going to open up the conversation about why we're doing this. We're going to force the president to talk about it, because Mike Johnson is a pansy puppet. He is. I tell him to his face. Bring him to the studio. I tell him right here in front of all of his security people, you're acting like a pansy puppet right now, because you're the Speaker of the House. You should be pushing back on what the president is doing, because it's against the will of the constituents that you say you represent. So that requires you to go to a break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT 820 listeners, it's time for your progressive calendar. On Tuesday, April 7th at 5:30 p.m., Congressman Mike Quigley's annual LGBTQIA+ Town Hall will take place at the Center on Halsted in Chicago, offering an open space for community conversation. This event is free and open to the public. Space is limited. Register at lgbtqtownhall.eventbrite.com. Thursday, April 16th at 11:30 a.m., the Chicago Area Public Affairs Group, CAPAG, presents a conversation on Chicago's City Council, budget priorities, and mayoral dynamics. Hear firsthand from Alders Nicole Lee, Scott Wagaspak, and Matt O'Shea. The event takes place at 65 West Jackson Boulevard in Chicago. Get your tickets at capag.org. That's been your Progressive Calendar with Whitney Rydell. Thank you, WCPT listeners.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chu.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on Choose Views.
All right, guys, we got the conversation going. Thanks for hanging with us this morning. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this March 31st, 2026. March 31st. How about that? Iran's chokehold on the Straits pushes oil to $116 a barrel. Oil prices showed no signs of reversing yesterday after hitting that dollar level as Iran strengthened its grip on the strategic Straits of Hormuz, and experts warned a prolonged war could push prices to a catastrophic $200 a barrel. Only 6 ships a day are crossing the strait, which controls 20% of the world's oil supply, down from 135 ships normally. All right. Rising gas prices are disrupting spring and summer travel plans. As we all predicted, pain at the pump is causing Americans to reconsider their upcoming vacation plans, according to the New York Times. Part of the trifecta of headaches affecting travelers. With gas prices nearing $4 per gallon, thanks to the war in Iran, road trips could cost 33% more than they did last year. Americans must also contend with long, of course, airport security lines caused by the partial government shutdown. And then the squeeze on everyday costs for summer airfares has shot up 17%. It's crazy. Numbers to watch this week in this Middle East conflict. How is the war affecting our everyday employment situation here in the U.S.? We're going to get some hints of that this week. Today, the Conference Board will release its monthly consumer confidence survey, which measures how optimistic Americans are feeling about the economy. Tomorrow, the U.S. Census Bureau will release its retail sales report for February. And then on Friday, April 3rd, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release the March jobs report. So we'll keep you posted there. And is this war in Iran starting to shift the Fed rates cut strategy? The Federal Reserve had been tipping its hat that there would be at least one rate cut this year. But that was before the war in Iran pushed oil prices. The uneasiness about the sticker inflation makes things more concerning for all analysts. Expectations of cuts are now mixed, according to the Wall Street Journal, with at least one Fed official saying a rate increase is still possible. But the journal also notes that many economists see compelling reasons to cut if the job market keeps weakening or if oil prices keep spiking, affecting spending and employment. So this just goes to show how silly and crazy and non-prepared Donald Trump is. He wanted to get Jerome Powell to do what, Devin? To cut interest rates, right? That was his big push. He was almost to the point of like trying to fire him over that, right? So now he starts a war, which is going to force the Fed to pull back from reducing interest rates. What a knucklehead. He probably was moving in the direction to kind of force the hand of the Fed. Then he starts a war. So the thing he wanted to try to do to bend the Fed's arm, he may not be able to legitimately do anymore because of the war. That just goes to show how stupid he is and how ill-prepared he is. And, of course, EF, also known as the Epstein Files. All right, so let me position you guys with a question about where we are. Question of the day. And I'd love to hear from you guys by text, by email, by phone, and you can go to our Facebook page and leave your comments there. We want to hear what you have to say. My question is this. If you have a family member that has been a Trump/MAGA supporter since whenever, 2016, 2020, whenever, but they were and still are a MAGA/Trump supporter, I'd like to know how you deal with them now, given all that's happened in this second term, this first year and 2 months of the second term. I'd like to know how you, if you have a family member that is a Trump supporter and or MAGA, or frankly part of the GOP, how do you deal with them? What are your tricks and tools of the trade of navigating and dealing with a family member that still got their head up the behind of this administration, Donald Trump and MAGA? Let us know with the text. You can text us or you can email us at 773-763-9278, or you can call, or you can leave your comments on our Facebook page for WCPT and Heartland Signal. Let us know. I'm curious. We want to start to track your information and track your replies and comments. Devin, let's grab a quick call. Let's go to Andre here in Chicago. Good morning, Andre. Welcome to the show.
Good morning to you, Mr. Chu. Happy Tuesday to you, and hope you and your family is doing well.
Thank you, Andre. I appreciate that. What's going on?
Yes, you're quite well. Well, Mr. Chu, I'm a bit enraged, but yet calm enough to think about this issue here. Over 27 women have accused Donald Trump of some sort of sexual misconduct. His ex-wife, Marla Maples, accused him of sexual assault. Donald Trump said on national TV he can grab women by their womb. E. Jean Carroll won a lawsuit against Donald Trump. And his name is mentioned in the Epstein files, and he paid off Stormy Daniels. But yet, Mr. Chu, The next day after Cesar Chavez was accused of something 6 years ago, everybody was enraged to want to take his name off of buildings and whatever else that bears his name. But yet, yesterday, Ron DeSantis wants to change the name of an airport to bear Donald Trump's name. I call it selective morality because anytime anybody does anything other than Donald Trump, the Republicans are quick to condemn it. But when anybody else does something wrong, when Donald Trump does something wrong, they put him up on a pedestal. As Martin Luther King used to say, truth is always on the scalpel and wrong is always on the throne. I'm enraged about that, and people should always look at this, and I hope the Democrats do not forget this. Nothing is off limits to talk about with these midterms. You got to call it for what it is, and they need to put pressure on Trump and expose this selective morality that these Republicans have. That's what I want to say this morning, Mr. Chu.
I don't know what else to say behind that, guys. Right? We got that almost flew under the radar about Cesar Chavez. But Andre, you're absolutely right. I'm sitting here thinking about that going, you're right. I don't know what to say, honestly. You said it as best possible. That is, it's selective morality. And it is sort of profound that every time something jumps off with somebody else's imperfections and the corporate media and the GOP messaging machine gets to work to grind that person down. That's why I said we have to grind the entire GOP into political dust. But you're right. When he does something, and clearly the things that he's done were documented. It wasn't just fake news and all the other things that they throw at us. Now you got a governor of a state. See, if I were in Florida and I'm a Republican or a Democrat, I'm in Florida. Why would you want to have a monument put up of a guy that in a private room would probably assault your daughter or your niece or your spouse? Why would you sign off on that? And so, Florida needs to push back on this. And I think any community where you've got an opposing thought needs to push back. But Andre, your words are wow. Talk about splitting the fairway, to use a golf terminology. You just did, because that was spot on. Thank you for that, Andre.
Thank you, Mr. Chu, and you have a good rest of the day.
I will. You too, and stay safe, Andre.
I will.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay.
I see this phrase a lot on social media, guys, when someone says something profound or does something amazing or says something that pushes the envelope and challenges the status quo to protect that person at all costs. Andre gets those flowers because he always brings something that's thinking not even outside of the box, but outside of the guardrails that we may oftentimes, or I may oftentimes, I'll take responsibility for it, talk about. So thank you, Andre, for having that kind of open mind and intellectually being curious about things that are happening. No better words could be placed on that, and I'll leave that alone. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you some updates on what's happening with our other shows. And we'll want to take your calls, so make sure to give us a holler at 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the mid-70s. Breezy southwest winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 37. By Wednesday, a chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 44 degrees. Thursday, a chance for rain and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 71. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 67.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Yes, guys, we are back today on Live, Local, and Progressive. Jennifer Schulze will be in for Joan, and her guests include Tom Skilling, WGN TV Chief Meteorologist Emeritus. How about that? Julie Jeske, founder of Decoding Fox News, a crowd-funded media project, and Laura Weber, State's Newsroom Communications Director and former member of the Chicago Tribune editorial board. Craig Aaron, president and co-CEO of Free Press and Free Press Action, and Mark Jacob, author of the Stop the Presses newsletter on Substack. All right, that's Live, Local, and Progressive weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. And tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by a guest co-host, Ken Mejia Beal, and their guests include Julie Fortier, candidate for Congress in the 12th District of Illinois. And Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez airs weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT AM 820, the Heartland Signal website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. Glenn Davis will be with me tomorrow, artistic director of Steppenwolf Theater and Steppenwolf's production Windfall, which opens April 9th. And, of course, it's Wednesday, so Choose Views contributor, a.k.a. Kurt Mullet, a.k.a. Hoosier Blue 63, will be with us. Aaron Kleinman, head of research at Heartland Signal, will be joining me as well. And then on Friday, Mayor Brandon Johnson will join me, so looking forward to talking with our own Chicago Mayor, Brandon Johnson. Today's show is live on Facebook, and we're reading your comments, so give them to us. Please leave your thoughts, as well as like and share the page. Find it at facebook.com/WCPT820. And speaking of that, in terms of Facebook, I'm going to throw out our question again, which is, if you are a person who has a family member that is still a Trump supporter / MAGA / diehard GOP family member, how do you deal with that person? How do you handle and navigate and communicate, whatever you do with that person? I'd like to know, because a lot of people right now, and part of the reason that I asked this question is I heard a number of folks who attended some of the No Kings rallies came from areas that would be considered purple or red. And remember yesterday I said that how many folks were from some red strongholds. A lot of folks that showed up from Texas, Ohio, Florida, Wyoming, Iowa. And I mentioned that because I'm asking the question, I'm curious, with people showing up from those communities, is there some truth to the breaking, the cracking in MAGA and the diehard folk, or the GOP that hasn't completely lost its mind, but were seduced by Donald Trump to voting for him? Is there a reality that the corporate media is not presenting to us that there's a bigger break in MAGA, supporters of Trump, GOP, however we want to phrase it? Is that break, is that fracture, that hairline fracture? Let's use some, physiology here. Is that hairline fracture gone to an actual real fracture, and the corporate media is not really reporting on it the way that would give people what I'm going to call some safe passage, and just give me some room here to kind of work this through with you guys. Go back to 2016. The media did not report on a lot of things about Trump in a way that would have been balanced. They tried to make it sound like if we talk about these things, we're tipping the scale. And we now know that CBS, Les Moonves, basically said, yeah, we know a lot of this is BS. I'm paraphrasing. But it's good for our ratings. Y'all remember that? Okay. So I'm wondering if we're in a similar mode now. So we take opposite ends of, we look at a bell curve. Donald Trump had this peak of popularity, and the GOP nationally and locally, okay. But a lot of what wasn't reported by the mainstream media gave Trump passes. And so now let's put us in 2026. And is it happening again? To the extent that the corporate media and other conversations aren't really talking about these hairline fractures becoming real fractures or breaks, and that those numbers are bigger than it's actually being reported in various forms of mainstream media. So I wonder, as part of the question about how do you deal with a family member or that's still a Trumper or still in the locked into the GOP, how do you deal with that? Because you may be seeing on the ground more and more people in your family that are saying, no, I'm done with him. And that may be, I wonder how many people showed up at the rallies and protests this weekend. Going back to what I said about strongholds, I wonder how many of those people really were. If we call it 8.5 million, if the number is 8.5 or 9 million, let's call it 9 million. And let's say that 20% of those people were actually people that voted for Trump. Let's just play that out. So nearly, if we played it out like that 20% of those people that were at the rallies throughout the country were people that voted for Trump or the GOP at large, showed up. Maybe the cracks are bigger than we think. And the mainstream media, or corporate media, I should say, once again, is running cover, downfield protection for the Trump administration and for Trump individually, to try to create a narrative. And I just tried this out. I thought about this a lot yesterday. To try to create a narrative to protect the brand long enough to then put the next Trump person, J.D. Vance probably, or Marco Rubio probably, in the best light possible as we get past the midterms. Because once we get through the midterms, it's on. We know that everybody's going to start to throw their hat in the ring, and all those things are going to happen because we're going to be in that 2-year window for the 2028 election. So I wonder, as I ask a question about how do you deal with a family member that's still saying that they're locked into Trump, GOP, MAGA, how do you deal with that? Because you may have some information that the corporate media does not want to talk about. Maybe there are more people that you know, percentage-wise, in your family and your network of folk that aren't still locked in, and they're talking about it, and they're showing up at protests and rallies. I'm curious. So let us know. Go to our Facebook page, send me a text or call so we can talk about that. It's a part of a bigger question, bigger conversation. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with people that are still locked in or saying that they're locked in? And then the bigger question is, how deep is the fracture? Is it gone from a hairline to a real fracture in more ways, in more places than we are hearing? Because it doesn't favor the mainstream or corporate media to talk about it truthfully once again, just like Trump's run in 2016. Just some food for thought. Just, I'm curious to see where you guys might be in that space. All right. Caroline Leavitt. Man, oh man, is she really putting herself in a position where she could be... I won't just say Caroline Leavitt. I say Caroline Leavitt in this moment, but I wonder how many Republicans are so afraid, or so maybe not afraid. Maybe this is just where and who they are. I said this before, so I got to look back at my own words. How many of the folks that are part of the administration and the cabinet are going to and are putting themselves in a position where they could face war crime charges with this war in Iran? I'm just curious. because I watched a part of a broadcast, a press conference, her yesterday, all but saying, we're just going to go keep killing them because we're allowed to, we're entitled to, we're able to do this because we're America. Same sort of tenor and attitude coming out of the mouth of Pete Hegseth. And he's overlaying religion in this conversation. Like it's almost saying it's God's will, and God has bestowed upon us the power to go and kill Iranians. I mean, he's all but saying those kinds of words. Listen to the press conferences that he's a part of, and listen to what he's saying to members of the military. Seriously. Rubio hasn't said the words the same way that Hegseth has, but he's gotten really, really close to saying that we are entitled, we are allowed to. So I want to know, I'm curious, are they setting themselves up potentially to face war crime charges? I don't know the answer to that, but I am curious because they don't seem to have any sort of a governor with their mouths to pull them back from the precipice of saying certain things. They're recorded. So somewhere down the line, particularly if the Democrats take back the House, they're going to be brought in front of Congress. And it'll be interesting to see how adept they're going to be at disavowing a recording of a video and audio recording of what they said to the public at a press conference or at a presentation to military men and women. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays itself out. All right, guys, let's take a little bit of a break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Keep your family safe with help from Menards. From smoke and carbon monoxide detectors to fire extinguishers and more, Kidde home safety products keep your family protected in case of emergencies. Kidde detectors feature enhanced sensing technology that reduces false alarms and give fast alerts for more time to get out safely. Check out all our Kidde safety products and check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
WCPT 820 listeners, it's time for some girls news. In 2026, women's entrepreneurship is surging. Driven by a desire for flexibility and accelerated by AI and digital tools, women are increasingly leading in e-commerce, wellness, and service-based sectors, with a major trend towards solo, high-impact, and home-based businesses designed for a work-life balance. Women entrepreneurs are heavily utilizing AI and e-commerce tools to streamline operations and reduce cost. 68% of women entrepreneurs have cited a work-life balance as a primary motivator to becoming a business owner, driving the demand for virtual assistants, digital marketing, consulting, and online coaches. Now, despite the growth, there is a push for better banking support and policy with a focus on addressing the $3 trillion opportunity for women and minority-owned business acquisitions. WCPT 820 listeners, I'm Whitney Rydell, and this has been your Girls News.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
He's not here to yell. He's here to inform and maybe stir the pot. This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I guess I need to do a little bit of cleanup on aisle 7. So I used a phrase earlier that someone found offensive, and I won't repeat it, but I will. I used a word in describing Mike Johnson that you guys can look at the text and see what that says. But I won't repeat it as a way of cleaning it up because that would be unnecessary. For those who were offended by the way in which I described Mike Johnson, I will take that as a measure of learning. And And if you found it offensive that I said it, it wasn't meant that way. It's never meant to be offensive in the descriptors. But to that person that sent me the text that says that you found that word or my description of him as offensive, then I will I'll address that and see where we are. But it was I meant to be offensive to Mike Johnson. Let's put it that way. I meant to offend the hell out of him for his weak ass non-leadership. Let me just say it that way. He is weak, and he is a terrible, terrible leader in terms of representing the House of Representatives. He is just that. He is a pieback. He is a number of other words I can use that begin with the word P, but I won't say them. But he is definitely a pieback, and he's weak. He is feckless, and the list could go on. But I will say that if someone were offended by the way in which I described Mike Johnson in the previous segment, then I apologize for that being offensive to you, but I do not apologize for getting after Mike Johnson, because we need to get after him without question, without a doubt. So just so you guys understand, I'm very quick to clean up on aisle 7, because I never want to be offensive to people unless they deserve me being offensive to them. So there you go. All right. Join me today, as always, and weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. here on WCPT and heartlandsignal.com. Tune in. Watch the live stream on Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, the midterm elections are just a few months away, and we here at WCPT are going to continue to interview candidates from across the state and the country. Visit heartlandsignal.com/candidates to hear and share the latest interviews, including my recent interviews with congressional candidates Sean McCann, Donna Miller, LaShawn Ford, and, of course, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. So make sure you find your way over to heartlandsignal.com. A candidate interviews tab is at the top of the website. Again, heartlandsignal.com. And also get the Choose Use featured interviews and full episodes podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and Amazon Music. Search for Choose Views or visit our new podcast page at heartlandsignal.com/podcast. There you go. All right, guys, keeping it moving along. I said before the break that I was concerned about, not concerned, but just curious about people who are in this administration that are putting themselves in the harm's way of war crimes. And I would not be surprised as we get through this horror show that there are going to be people brought up on war crimes. We'll see what happens, but we'll keep you abreast of that conversation. Another curiosity that I have regarding what happened down in Florida, and this kind of gets into the conversation that I was having with Mike yesterday. Do we think that the wins in Florida that have taken place and wins in other red states on a state level, as well as some of the federal elections, is there real wave to that? I think it is. I think it's more than that, and it goes back to, when I look at my notes, it goes back to what I was saying before about is this hairline fracture more than just a hairline fracture, and it's just not being reported as such. And just work with me here for a second. If the conversation is we need to listen to the voters, that politicians need to listen to the voters, they need to listen to the constituents, they need to grab the energy that's coming from a 8.5 to 9 million person protest. If that's true, that's what politicians should be doing. And from many of the conversations that I've had with people who are running and have been elected, have said, when I've asked them, how did you do it? What's your message? I would say 100% of them have said, we've been listening to what the voters are asking for and what the voters are telling us, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of response is what I've been getting. So I'm curious if that's true, and we've got 8.5 to 9 million people showing up at protests and rallies, and many of those folks are in red strongholds, then maybe it is being underreported by the corporate media. that these wins are bigger than we've been led to believe. Maybe it is. And it's not me being optimistic, like, okay, yeah, let's have a quote unquote kumbaya, rally moment. It's really, again, I go back to, is the corporate media underreporting, partially reporting, skewing is not the right word because that sounds like that's not the word I want to use, but they're kind of holding their powder because they know that a big part of their revenue and their ability to be propped up as a corporate media entity is based on the controversy that's created and the chaos that's created and the back and forth that's created. And to acknowledge that Donald Trump's numbers are actually worse than what some of the polls are showing based on how elections are turning out, that would be problematic for them. And I don't know if it's that or they're just afraid to report this because they're worried about what the administration and the Brandon Carrs are going to do if they report true, real, hardcore data. Like, there are more people that are saying, there are more people that showed up at this No Kings rally weekend and protest by an exponential number of times 10 or 20 than what happened in this last rally last fall. It's something to talk about because as we are marching toward the midterms, if that's true and the corporate media is doing that, then we all have to do I don't want to say better because that sounds judgmental. We all have to make sure we're engaged to keep doing the work, to keep pushing hard, to make sure that the momentum doesn't die down. Because if we're not getting information from corporate media that speaks to the fact that there is it's more than just a hairline fracture, it's a more serious break. I don't know. And I'm really curious about this because I keep hearing these numbers and I keep watching these reports. And then I ask myself, are we facing that same sort of corporate media needs to protect its golden goose once again? Or in this case, it's orange goose. It's not golden, Mike. It's orange. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm asking not because I'm suspicious, but I'm genuinely curious. Because, if we use the phrase that numbers don't lie, then something's not making sense. If we look at the war in Iran, for example, and the fact that people are fed up, and it's not because of one of the guests said yesterday, it's not just because of pocketbook issues. Actually, it was Edwin that said this. People showed up at the No Kings rally that he attended, and we're talking about it because of their concern about how this makes America look, having this person as president. That the conversation wasn't about affordability necessarily, a price of groceries or the price of this. It was really about how we are viewed as a country. And the pride, and those are my words, I said that, not Edwin, the pride that we say that we have in our country has been greatly diminished because of this person. And that's a big reason why folks showed up at least the rallies that Edwin attended. And that's the sort of the vibe that he got. So I want all of us to be asking that question. And it is kind of the baseline of why I asked the question earlier about if you've got a family member that is still, riding large with Trump and the GOP and MAGA, how do you deal with that? And maybe a second part of that question is, do you have some intel about what's really going on that maybe those of us who don't have in our immediate or secondary circles of family and friends a Trump person in that world? And it's something we got to keep talking about. Because the other side of this is, I want to go back to the word momentum. I think that if we keep asking that question or questions in that space about how many of the numbers are accurate or being fully reported in their full breadth. If we keep asking that question, because we didn't do that, I don't think we did that in 2016. By 2020, we were doing it more, but I don't think we did it at all in 2016. We now have 2 cycles since then. And maybe this is that time where we've got to keep the momentum, not just for protesting and rallies, but also asking those kinds of tough questions. How bad is the mainstream media, or how much is the corporate media, rather, once again protecting their orange goose? Because they know that once he's gone, they aren't going to have him as the thing that props up their bad coverage, lack of coverage, not complete coverage, whatever wording we want to use. So, I didn't mean to drag you guys into the cornfield with me on this, but I did because I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious and want to know where you guys are in this space. So, try to give us some response to the question about if you got a family member that's still a Trump supporter, still down with the GOP, still riding with MAGA. How do you navigate and deal with that person in this moment, given all that's been in front of us, even when I'm suspicious that there's a lot that the corporate media is not really giving us? So let's talk about that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking with a person who may have some answers in that space. He may not, but he certainly has got some great observations. Corbin Trent will be with us when we come back from this next break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Someone says smoking. You associate lung cancer. That's good. But Dr. David Burns of the American Lung Association says smoking is linked to many other deadly risks.
Cancers of the mouth, throat, esophagus, pancreas, kidney, urinary bladder, and larynx. Heart disease issues including heart attacks, strokes, aortic aneurysm, and an increased risk of chronic respiratory illness, and new areas including macular degeneration, hearing loss, as well as the risk for both gastric cancer and for colorectal cancer.
There are several thousand compounds in cigarette smoke. A good many of them can cause mutations and failures on the cellular level, and that leads to the increased chance of cancers throughout the body. And if you smoke, don't wait to make a resolution for next New Year's Eve. Today is a great day to start. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the mid-70s. Breezy southwest winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 37. By Wednesday, a chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 44 degrees. Thursday, a chance for rain and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 71. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 66.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. As the U.S. war against Iran continues, a Kuwaiti oil tanker came under an Iranian attack while in port early Tuesday off the coast of Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Authorities say the tanker was hit by a drone and caught fire. There were no injuries, and the fire has since been extinguished. The ship was fully loaded and suffered damage. The company operating the tanker said measures were being taken to reduce any potential environmental damage. The White House says the war with Iran is moving ahead successfully and according to plan. More from Mark Mayfield.
In a briefing on Monday, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt also said talks with the regime aren't going well, despite press reports to the contrary.
What is said publicly is, of course, much different than what's being communicated to us privately. As a result, President Trump issued a 10-day pause to postpone planned strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure.
Levitt said she hopes Iran takes this golden opportunity to make a deal with the U.S. after President Trump extended a pause to target Iran's energy infrastructure. That deadline is April 6th. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Air travelers are hopeful for shorter security lines today after TSA workers started to receive retroactive paychecks despite the ongoing partial government shutdown. Paychecks reportedly began hitting employees' bank accounts on Monday, but officials have cautioned there might be some delays in paying TSA officers back in full. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is signaling a wait-and-see approach on interest rates.
There's sort of downside risk to the labor market, which suggests keep rates low, but there's upside risk to inflation, which suggests maybe don't keep rates low. You've got tension between the two objectives.
Powell was delivering remarks at Harvard on Monday. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
On top of home and auto, Progressive protects your boat, RV, and motorcycle so you can explore the unknown.
Actually, we just take the RV to the same campground every year.
Well, maybe you can catch your own dinner on your boat.
Oh, we can actually get pizza delivered there from this brick oven place we love.
Will you at least try a new topping?
Honestly, probably not. We kind of have a go-to order.
Fine. Just bundle home or auto insurance with your outdoor vehicles with Progressive and stay protected when you go, I guess, where you've gone before. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
The Sports Cubicle. Commissioner of the American Association of Professional Baseball, Joshua Schaub.
So our players are not playing to develop to make it to the major leagues. They play for the name on the front of their jersey. They play for each other and they play to win. So the style of baseball is completely different. They're literally trying to get guys out. They're literally trying to move runners over. They're trying to win the game. So I just want to note that difference as well.
The Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container, because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fan favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us. I'm going to read some of the text that we've received, just because I want to make sure I acknowledge those who've taken some time to text. Some of the texts that we get are pretty offensive, but that's just part of the deal, and we won't read those on the air. And some people are, that is what it is. Others are ones that help me to see things from a different perspective. But I want to go back to the one that I talked about earlier, where someone felt offended by a comment that I made about Mike Johnson. And, I've had other texts that have said that I didn't need to apologize for it. So it's kind of interesting. But at the end of the day, I never want to be offensive to anyone that's a listener by language. If you don't like what I say about something, i.e. my opinion, I could care less if I offend you, because it's my observation, just like you have yours. But if I say something from a word standpoint that someone thinks a word is offensive, then I get that, and I will always be big enough to apologize. So to the person, again, that was offended by the word that I used in describing Mike Johnson, I apologize for that offensive, but at the same time, I can't stand Mike Johnson. So that, let me be perfectly clear. I cannot stand him. I do not think he has the backbone to be the Speaker of the House. He is a puppet for Donald Trump. He is clearly in Donald's pocket. And, you know, who stands there sweating when he's presenting a statue, a gold statue for the President of the United States? That's what Johnson did last week. The same day that the whole thing about the pen and the Sharpie, the $1,000 pen and Sharpie. So Mike Johnson is a pie-back, feckless individual, and he is Donald Trump's puppet, just like Trump is probably Putin and Netanyahu's puppet. So there you go. We got a whole cast of puppets. Feel like I'm in a clown show from the 70s. All right. Let's see who else. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate your support and your observation about, where we are and how we have to see things when it comes to Johnson. And no, I never back down, but I'm aware of what people may think and say. So thank you for that bit of encouragement and observation. Let's see. Bob out in California. Definitely the gas prices are clearly they're despicable, and the increase is brought on by none other than this dude known as Donald Trump. They are not anybody else's fault. They're not can't blame it on the Democrats. The cost of towels, paper towels, toilet paper, all these things that are some basic items. I agree with you, Bob. Absolutely. This is at the lap of Donald Trump and the GOP at large. So thank you for reminding us of that. Let's see. No Kings. We made it to 9 million. Thanks to 630 for sending us this. The next time attendance goal needs to be 12 million. I agree with you on that. And we did cross. If we got to 9 million, then we, for all intents and purposes, did cross the 3% threshold to reach that tipping point about when a country is at revolution stages. So thank you for that. Let's see. A couple others that are out there that I want to read to you guys. Let's see. Yeah, thanks, Lois. Appreciate your comments as well. A lot of people that have left MAGA, there are more coming. Okay. Based on the protests and the attendees at the protest. Let's see what else we got. Okay. This person says, my girlfriend is a Reagan Republican and we have differences. We have been seeing each other for almost 7 years. I believe the majority of suburban Republicans are just that. We see in Washington, what we see in Washington is in many ways performative politics. Okay. Her issues are immigration, foreign aid, and Black Lives Matter. She believes we should be heralding all lives matter. On the other hand, she is a strong proponent of social justice. She didn't vote for Trump ever. She is some ways a feminist. I think her views stem from her daughters who are struggling and seem not to be getting a helping hand. I suppose I'm saying that maybe, just maybe more than moderate than what we see in Washington, D.C. Okay. And me, he says, I'm a true blue and gently challenges her views, sometimes to her exhaustion. Courageous, my man. I won't mention his name out of respect, but thanks you guys for sending me these notes and texts this morning. There you go. That's what we try to do, is give you guys as much of a voice as we possibly can. And speaking of voices, man, oh man, Corbin Trent. That's a dude who has made it clear that I'm going to say what I got to say, and I want to get more people involved and create kind of a big old mass of people that are going to be working hard to get things done. With us this morning is the co-founder and director of Campaign for America's Future, Corbin Trent. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Choose Views.
Hey, how are you, Richard?
I'm good, man. How you doing? What's going on?
I'm getting by, just pushing through the day. Just launched a new endeavor, having fun with that, and just living in Trump's America.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Listen, y'all, in case you don't know, Corbin is from a rural part of America that is beautiful and topographically just phenomenal. He is Tennessee born and Tennessee raised. Do I have that right?
That's it. You do. East Tennessee.
Talk to us, man. Tell us about that. Tell us about your upbringing. Tell us a little bit about Corbin's background and legend.
Yeah, well, so I live in the foothills of the most visited national park in America, this Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and I've been looking at sort of how I came to the political conclusions I came to a lot lately and thinking about it. And I think growing up here in this region that was sort of deeply impoverished through the early 1900s, and then saw this great rise of people's living standards and wages and ability to have a good life through these massive government projects. Like I live very near a place called Oak Ridge, which was is hugely important during the Manhattan Project.
Yep.
I'm surrounded, of course, by lakes and interstates and all these things that were built during the Depression and during the New Deal era, and then the Arsenal Democracy. Like my grandparents both worked at a plant called American Inca, which employed, I don't know, a third of the people in the county I'm from at one point.
Right.
Because they were making nylon and all these fibers. Anyway, the Rural Electrification Act, this place was totally built and powered.
It was booming, man.
It was booming. And then, so like I saw this sort of trajectory of rise. I was born in 1980. And so I came in as being aware of things sort of at the tail end, as Reagan was coming in, as neoliberalism and offshoring and deindustrialization was starting to take hold. And my grandfather had a furniture factory and a metalworking company. He died in 2000 when I was 20, so I inherited those. I guess I was actually 19. And then they sort of, just died because all of our customers started dying. We were making parts for Berkline and Lazy Boy and Ladd and all these big furniture companies in the area. And like Triangle, the sort of like High Point, North Carolina, where all this furniture was being made.
Yeah.
And then, boom, it all starts dying and dying and dying. And then what you start seeing where I'm from is parks and roads and bridges start to collapse and turn into ruin. And you see these, like my teen years, in my early 20s, you'd see all these pain clinics popping up because of the Sacklers, the opioid crisis, right?
Yep.
So I saw this region sort of start to decay. And, I got really excited I never really was into electoral politics until Barack Obama ran in 2007. I started out as a John Edwards guy and then turned into an Obama fan. Right? And he was the first presidential candidate that I ever drove to see in person. So I went to a rally of his, ended up going to a couple in Asheville, North Carolina, and other places, and was just so inspired by him and his message of change and transition. But then I became less inspired by his presidency than I was by his candidacy. So I sort of recoiled from politics after that for quite some time. And the next person, basically, I'd gone to New York, gone to culinary school, got out of all this stuff entirely. And then I came back to Tennessee, started some food trucks. And I'm literally standing on the food truck listening to the radio as I do, because I love you folks. I was listening to Tom Hartman, and he had Brunch with Bernie. And Bernie Sanders was like, this is early, I guess, was this late 16, early 15, early 16, when I don't remember exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, if this guy runs for president, I'm all in again. I'm catching the fever, And so I did. He ran for president. I sold the food trucks and started driving around Tennessee trying to wake people up and tell them, hey, Tennessee, we were blue until just a little bit ago, guys. That's the funny thing about these states like West Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, that are considered deep red or purple. Like these used to be solid Democrat states. West Virginia had a Democratic trifecta until 2010.
Yep. I know.
Tennessee had 5 of 9 of our representatives were Democrats until 2010.
Yeah, Barack's midterm. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, like that. And what's funny is like everybody wants to say, okay, well, this is easily solved because we like to have easy solutions in our head. It was a racist reaction to a black president. But the crazy thing is that Barack Obama only underperformed Bill Clinton in Tennessee by 2.5, 3 points. Yeah. So it's not just racism. That's certainly an element of it, right? But that's not the entire story. And the reason it's important to know that's not what has driven a wedge between people where I'm from and the Democratic Party. And it's not just like trans issues or abortion or this or that. Those things have become so powerful because they are what has taken hold in spite of an economic issue, in spite of a vision for America. That's what I was drawn to with Obama. That's what I was drawn to with Bernie Sanders, is a different vision. A vision for how we're going to be a better country, how Tennessee is going to be a better state, how East Tennessee, how Hamlin County, Lenoir City, these specific places are going to be better.
And you know? What's interesting about that part there, the areas you just described geographically, some people have heard about, never been to, that, it is what it is. But they're in part, Corbin, not that desire is not much different than people that live in the proverbial south side of or west side of Chicago, where economically their challenges are very similar. They're not the same, or they don't come from the same place, but they're very similar. Someone that's in those counties that you just described are going through and have been going through some of the same turmoil that a family on the south or certain parts of certain communities in major metropolitan areas. I mean, not over denote a particular neighborhood, but certain metropolitan areas are dealing with the same thing, and they are as blue as the sky. So what's I'm sitting here listening, and I want to listen and gather data in your statement. So you had kind of a here's the word I'll use, kind of a yo-yo effect. Out of the mix, got in the mix. Barack was inspiring, out of the mix. Bernie was inspiring, back in the mix. So what is it that when you've been pulled back into the mix, because I know that you've got some very good connections and work with AOC, but what is it that, if you were to sit down and do sort of a self-assessment and then maybe overlay that on other people, what is it that pulls you in and has kept you in, and what do you think, or how do you think, or if you think that that's going to be part of the big question that everybody's asking is, what is it going to take to pull people back into the conversation and back into the fight? Because let's face it, Corbin, you know this, in 2024, 89 million Americans did not vote. And we don't know what the breakdown is, but what is it? So I know I threw a lot at you there, but kind of let's peel this apart together. We know what kind of pulls you in.
I think there's been two things that have drawn me in, right? So the yo-yo, if you will, there's been two things. One is hope and inspiration. And generally speaking, through individuals. I've been mostly inspired by individuals. And then I guess the other is inspiration from a negative lens. Like, I was a general contractor for the last 3 years until a year ago. I came back, I left D.C., I was AOC's communications director. I'd worked on both of Bernie Sanders' presidential campaigns. I'd worked on the Hill as the communications director, also for AOC. And I just got burnt out. Like, I just didn't feel like we were working to transition the Democratic Party into one that could fight MAGA. I didn't feel like the Democratic Party was being reborn in the way it needed to be, and I felt like my capacity to have an impact on that was diminishing. So I left, and I came back to Tennessee, and I became a general contractor. And then what pulled me back in, like Michael Corleone, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in, was Donald Trump getting reelected. And then not only getting reelected, running on ideas that I thought were so they were such a DNA of the Democratic Party that I wanted to see born, like the reindustrialization, the idea of getting our capacity to make the things that we want to use and that the world wants to use back, having, rebuilding cities. Like he was talking about freedom cities from this idea of really horrible, solutions, but the idea of building new cities again, getting life more affordable, taking down the FDA, when Doge and all that was going on, I thought to myself, the Democratic Party was like, we'd talk about cutting budgets and stuff if you wanted to have that conversation. But it's not the budgets. It's the revolving door that was the problem, that the SEC is filled with Wall Street people, that the FDA is filled with drug company people. That's the real problem, Yeah. So again, So I guess the thing that brought me back in this time was not only seeing Trump get reelected and the danger that I knew that posed, but then just the sheer anger and resentment that he was having this dialogue with my people, if you will, around ideas that I thought were extremely important. And he was leading us astray, leading us down a dark road without a solution, because there is no vision other than these are the bad people, whether it's immigrants, whether it's people of color, whether it's other countries, whether it's, whomever it is. It's all this vision of destruction and pain as opposed to a vision of hope and rebuilding. And so that's what brought me back in this time. And I think, one of the things that I think brings people into the political process is having any vision of it working. There's so much cynicism that doesn't matter what I do or who I vote for, nothing's going to change. And I think one of the places where I really saw that happen, over time is with the Stock Act. There was this bill passed after a 60 Minutes report that showed how much insider trading was going on in Congress.
Yep.
And then it looked so bad for the House, they were going to pass this big Stock Act. This is back in Obama's term. And it ended up passing, but it got defanged and all this stuff happened. And I think the reason people basically ignore insider trading is because they don't think there's anything they can do about it. So you have to. Like if I was working at a nursing home, I could not feel deeply about every patient that lives there. Otherwise, it would destroy me. And I feel like as Americans, we have to do the same thing with our government. We have to do the same thing with the corruption. We have to basically turn off the feeling and the anger and the resentment, lest it eat us alive. So the only time we can tune back in is when we see that there is a possibility for change.
Yeah, there are so many things. There were so many things, Corbin, that went through my mind when you were describing the leading down the path. One of the things that comes to mind for me, and I did make note of this, is that, I believe that my parents gave me some very simple, good advice that stayed with me. And I hope that this is not offensive to anybody. But my mother and father always said, you know what's right and you know what's wrong. And you know what's good and you know what's bad. Make a decision based on what you know. Basically, that's fancy words for use your common sense. So here's my
right.
Here's my point. I do my best, and I certainly don't reach the crown in terms of trying to understand that people have their way about certain things. But one of the things that I think failed for a lot of people has failed for a lot of people in the last 10 years politically, with Trump specifically, and maybe politics at large, but certainly specifically Trump, when you talk about, you coming back into the fight, is that you just said it. You saw this guy who was talking about stuff that, although may have been right in its genesis of thinking, there's no way in heck it was going to actually be reality. And that this is where I think people kind of failed themselves. And I know some folks are going to be upset with me saying this, but where was the common sense? Where was the ability to have some discernment in your thinking and going, this guy's off his rocker? And then these things that he's saying about other folks are just not true. Mexicans, brown folks coming from the southern border, Latinos, Venezuelans, all the rest. I'm no disrespect to anybody. How could they be, if they're supposedly God's children too, how could they be that bad?
And of course, statistics don't bear it out.
Just keep adding to that structure to so many things that he said about so many different things. And I asked myself this question: how much do we need to feed people's minds to get them to think differently when it comes to this stuff? Because some of it's just common sense.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that happened is people, as things get tougher and tougher and tougher, both economically and socially, we get more and more isolated, more and more afraid of our neighbors and and the people within our communities and the people in the community next door. Urban people get afraid of rural people get afraid of urban people, all these, we got the coastal people don't like the Midwestern or whatever, right? So we get very segmented, and then economically we struggle. Like, I think for one of the things that's happening is that the economic situation that 80% of America is in, some huge percentage of America is in, that isn't resonating with most of our leadership, whether it's from the Federal Reserve all the way down to elected leaders, right? They don't see the real daily, weekly, monthly struggle that most people are going through and how hard it is to put a life together.
Yeah.
And there's a disconnect between that reality. So I think when Donald Trump ran both times and seemed to have a willingness to destroy systems that people found to be destructive to their well-being, that was attractive. To 70 million people, that was attractive. That's, or more.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in spite of all the horrible things. I think had you had someone with similar attitudes about the system without all of the horrible stuff that goes along with Trump, I don't know which words I can say on the radio, but all the horrible stuff, right?
Right.
Then it would have been a landslide, an actual landslide, not just a Trumpian landslide, right? Because I believe that the Democratic Party has wanted to maintain a system that fundamentally has failed people, and they can't break outside of that box. Like, I was listening to this podcast that Obama did the other day when it was the anniversary, I guess, of the ACA. And he was touting this great achievement, this wonderful thing that they'd done, the ACA. And of course, there's a handful of things that it did that were good. But for a year and change now, we've listened to the Democratic Party tell us that if the enhanced subsidies expire, the ones that came in from COVID, that it would be devastating to people's livelihoods and to their ability to afford health care. And what we're saying, what the Democratic Party is saying, is that if we go back to Obamacare, then it's going to be devastating. But they won't come to terms with that and say that actually, no, we didn't do a good job. No, actually, it turns out the ACA is devastating economically to people's lives. And we needed something different. But it's not just healthcare. It's so many places, whether it's our, ability to manufacture, whether it's our ability to build in, infrastructure. There are so many places that the leaders in this country, both Democrat and Republican, have just wanted to kick the can down the road for decades and decades and decades. And it's culminated into people's basically distrusting their entire system, distrusting their government, and wanting, that's the reason they were open to the idea of a dictator on day one. Like, the man said that stuff, right?
Well, and I guess my challenge or my pushback in a couple of areas, and I only mean this in terms of how I see it versus what might be someone else's reality, is there are the other side of the conversation around the ACA is that millions of people have benefited by it, and they've got evidence to show this is what would have happened if it weren't in place. So I think it's less about ranking it and judging, and I'm just isolating the ACA because that's what you mentioned, and more about looking at the things that affect the most amount of people. I've been saying this for the longest time. What are the things that are affecting the most amount of people, irrespective of income and social status and stratus? But those things, and they tend to be economic issues, the social issues. I can go back and forth on the conversation around anything that most people could put up. But when it comes to economic issues, that is kind of the common thread that we all, are dealing with. And historically, what's happened, and this is where I think sometimes the Democrats miss this point. Because what I thought about when you said about a person that would be in the same vein as Trump or a similar vein about the presentation of information, I thought, yeah, the real truth, though, is under Democratic federal leadership, more people in America have prospered than under Republicans. The Democrats keep missing that as part of their national message and using the evidence to show, imperfect as it may be, Corbin, but historically, those are the real, raw, factual data points. And that's probably one of my biggest criticisms of the Democratic Party is that take the wins and make the wins the talking point. Take the successes rather than always having to attack how bad and stinky Republicans are. Because as you said once, and I think I read this correctly, that the biggest threat to jobs and stable prices and democracy and a healthy planet is a Republican takeover of Congress. And yet here we are.
Yes. And, I guess I would, let's do a little back and forth pushback here, is that I think actually one of the problems that Hillary had when she was running in 2016, and to a degree we had even with Kamala Harris, is that both of them wanted to be able to run on achievements. I think actually part of the problem is that that's the disconnect between the majority of voters, especially people that are making under $100,000 a year, that don't have college degrees and so on and so forth, is that when you try to tell them, hey, actually the last 40 years have been great and we've done some really good things in the last 10 or 20, whatever it is, it doesn't actually connect with people in their lives because they feel that things have been getting worse. And that's actually one of the biggest challenges that we have. And I've written a lot about this on America's Undoing, which is that if you look at the data, the economic data, then it tells us that people have gotten more and more purchasing power over the last 40 years. Basically every year things have gotten better. But if you look at that in terms of how much people have to work to get what their parents and grandparents could get, what you find is that they're working more, whether it's two people in the household working instead of one, whether it's working part-time jobs, whether it's taking on longer debt, more debt, so on and so forth, whether it's seeing more debt at the federal level, more debt at the household level. So I think that's actually part of the problem, is that the Democratic Party's leadership isn't aligned, again, with the understanding of how things are actually going. And they think that the last 40 years of neoliberalism, offshoring, globalization has been largely effective. And if you come at it from that framework, then you just basically think we need some tweaks, that this system is fundamentally sound. All it needs is better guidance, better management. And I wrote about this just the other day when I was describing Mamdani's New York, how the assumption based on the way he's governing as mayor of New York City is that the system is fundamentally functional and it needs better management. I think one of the things that drew people to Trump is that actually this system is fundamentally broken and not functional and needs bigger reforms. And I think healthcare shows that. I think our inability to produce the things that we need show that.
So this is where I'm my pushback is this. But this is where the Republicans have failed. Republicans have failed at fixing that more so than the Democrats have. And yes, the Democrats may not have been in touch with that part, or that to the extent that people feel like it should be more discussed publicly and politically and campaigning and all. But ultimately, Corbin, what's happened is Republicans continue to make it worse. That
100%.
And so that's the part where I say there's a certain responsibility that everyday folks should take upon themselves to go, but they just keep repeating the same thing and making the same bigger mistakes than the Democrats do. So I'm always careful with the both sides do it thing, because ultimately the Republicans, if both sides do it, then we have to have a measuring stick. Republicans do it and they make it worse. The Democrats have been the stopgap. Not perfect, but they've attempted to be the stopgap when we've had these issues, because we don't have Democrats tearing down the CDC. We don't have Democrats tearing down our financial systems. We don't have a Democrat that's taken us to war in recent times. But that's what Republicans keep voting for. They keep voting for the same garbage. So, Corbin, listen, because of time, we blew past my break, and I've got a next guest waiting. So
All right.
Here's what we're going to do. You're going to look at your calendar because our producers here are going to say, let's get you back on, because I'm asking you now, let's have you back on sooner than later. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sounds like a plan to me, Rich.
Stay safe, man, and I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us this morning. We'll get you back on because I want to keep our conversation going.
Thanks to you and all your listeners.
Thanks for being with us. Oh, by the way, how can folks find you real quick before we go?
The easiest way is either at checking me out at americasundoing.com or at fightworthhaving.com.
That sounds good. Corbin Trent, y'all, thanks for being with us, man. We'll talk to you soon, and please stay safe, okay?
Thank you, sir. You too.
All right, bye-bye. Quick break, guys. 773-763-9278 is the number you're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we'll be talking with Dr. Debra Houry. We'll be right back.
Loading the kids in the car, brokering peace in the back seat, mastering the snack handoff without even looking. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple, so you can worry about more important things, like figuring out what's growing in that cup holder. That's simple human sense.
In Will and DuPage County, contact Fazio Insurance at 815-727-2611 or FazioInsurance.com.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit aboc.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the mid-70s. Breezy southwest winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 37. By Wednesday, a chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 44 degrees. Thursday, a chance for rain and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 71. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 64.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back, and thank you for being with us. And thanks to Corbin Trent, definitely a guy that's plugged in and a thinker in this space about what's gone on, what we can do to affect things going forward. So we will definitely have Corbin back with us. And talking about being back with us, Dr. Debra Houry, who is a former chief medical officer for the Centers of Disease Control. She's probably going, you know what? I'm past all that now because this goofy dude that's in there that's taking a wrecking ball. I'm on to other great things. Dr. Houry, good morning, and how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I say that facetiously. I know that the CDC is still in your DNA and a big part of what you're concerned about because of how it impacts so many of us, not just here in the United States, but frankly throughout the globe. Give us some updates. You have had two great things happen, obviously, since we've had you on a few times with PHNIX, the initiative out in California, and also your work in terms of leadership, epidemiology at Yale's School of Public Health. Talk to us about how those two new responsibilities are going for you.
Both are going great, and it's really nice to be able to have impact on the field. Last week, I was with 12 states, blue, purple, and red, out west, focusing on how we could look at things like sharing data, being prepared for health threats, and just taking care of people with chronic health disease and using innovation. And so coming together around shared goals on health was great. And then I'm actually at Yale today, meeting with incoming students about, going into public health and really building that pipeline and thinking about what can academics do during this time when federal government, isn't really stepping up to the plate, and looking at how academics can have things like data dashboards on environmental health or, increasing laboratory capacity. And then I'm working on a book on leadership during challenging times.
You mean that right now maybe we don't have some of the leadership that's required during? You know what? Here's the thing. The gentleman I had on before, Corbin Trent, we were talking about what's drawn him in and then pulled him away. I kind of said the yo-yo effect of politics. And I think that leadership and energy and forward thinking and all those other words are part of what draws people in. A vision that says we're going to be better. We recognize where we are, but we're going to be better. So in your book about leadership, what are some of the things that you are building, without giving us too much information? Of course, when it's here, we will talk about it. But what are some of the things that you're using in terms of your life experiences and observations to create the narrative and to create the text for your book?
Yeah, so I'm really drawing on my time as a county ER doc for, 15 years, and how you use a lot of those, critical thinking skills like triage. How do you prioritize? And one of the examples that comes to mind was what happened to me last year ago on April 1st, where 2,500 staff at CDC were laid off. And we had to literally triage and figure out what programs to save, what we had to let go. And so really using thinking like that to handle critical situations.
Yeah, when you said triage, the first thing I thought is that our country is currently in a state of triage. And, everything's important right now because we have so many things. I mean, a year ago, going back to April 1st of last year, all that's been thrown at us in 12 months. Yet we still survived, and we've still, I think, kept an eye toward the future and moving forward. But we are in a critical situation right now because of what this administration is doing. We can't get away from that. I think that the wrong thing to do is to look away and to think that it's just going to fix itself on its own. And I tie that to this past weekend and the rallies and the protests that took place throughout the country. And the signs said it all. The signs are from no war to no kings to no tariffs to let's fix our healthcare system. It was a full plate of what the country is feeling. How are you fixed right now when it comes to picking the thing that you want to focus on as it comes to prioritizing and leadership? What do you feel we've got to focus on?
Yeah, just with my lens, I always think about, health, whether it be, prevention, hospitals and value-based care, or how we can do things out in the community. And, I'm advising 2 tech companies right now on incorporating things like artificial intelligence as part of clinician flow and how we can actually access and provide services to more patients, particularly vulnerable patients and, those that are at risk that don't have great access to healthcare. So how can we do things differently during this time? And when it comes to public health, what can states and local communities do to really bolster their communities and be prepared, not just for health threats, but for chronic health conditions? And so really looking at how we can strengthen that today, because these health issues don't go away. Every one of us will be affected by something, and it's like, how can we really focus on ensuring that we all can live healthy lives despite what is happening with our budget and our staffing and the lack of focus on science?
Yeah, one of the things that when you say that we're all affected by it, the word I wrote down is stress. And right now, I think that the country as a whole and individually is under a lot of stress. That's coming from leadership in Washington, and some may say leadership on a state level, depending on what state that they are in. Navigating stress is one. It's sneaky. Stress is real sneaky. You may not recognize that you are stressed about where we are or where you are in your life, but that's a big one right now. And how pervasive is that when it comes to other conditions that from your experience people deal with?
Yeah, stress can certainly, contribute to mental health issues, depression, suicidal ideations, cause, or be associated with high blood pressure. And then you think about the impact on sleep quality. If you've got poor sleep quality, that kind of has that vicious cycle, which can, result in obesity, fatigue, other chronic conditions. And so stress really, essentially batters your body. And so it's really important to take care of yourself both physically and mentally, when and where you can. And I certainly have not always been a role model, when at the height of stress at CDC, but now's the time to really rebalance and think through, are you doing your preventative health screenings? What are you doing each day to pause and reflect and have a period of, whether it's mindfulness or just, a way to decompress, whether it's watching, a Netflix show or just, having time with family. Really important to do things like that to take care of yourself during these periods of stress.
Yeah, that's one of the things that and I'm going to talk to you about this a little bit before we wrap up. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with Dr. Debra Houry, who is doing a little bit of everything now. Yale, PHNIX. She's making sure she's connecting with red, blue, and purple leaders in different states. What's that experience been like, Dr. Houry, in terms of talking to those leaders on a state level in terms of what they need and what you can offer as assistance to help them get that?
It's been really motivating to see that leaders, in these different states and local communities care about their constituents and the health of constituents. And, pushing politics aside, focusing on how to really improve the health, whether it's through ensuring that there's access to vaccines or access to preventative services, even things like, sharing health information exchanges across states so that electronic medical records and information really flow more seamlessly so that, your information travels with you. So it's nice that people can focus on what is important and what matters today.
One of the things that crosses my mind when it comes to healthcare concerns is how our environment is impacting us. And I mean, obviously, the living environment that we're in, the spaces that we occupy, but I mean it more so in terms of our air quality, our water quality, all those things, which sometimes people don't make a connection to how the environment impacts our health until there's an incident. And correct me if I'm wrong, there's an incident that causes them an issue. So what are some of the things that you see in our environment right now that are impacting our health that we aren't doing enough about, or that maybe positively you see there's some opportunities for us to do things about?
Yeah, great question. And it's interesting because I just had this discussion with a researcher yesterday at Yale about this exact thing. And Yale School of Public Health is doing some really great work looking at, how do you look at these environmental exposures? And what I learned is it's not really being tracked, systemically and nationally. And in general, it's being monitored more in urban areas than rural areas. And many of the rural areas may have more exposures when you're looking at things like well water or pesticides on farms. Some of the things that come to mind, when I was at CDC, were things like PFAS, which can be found in firefighting foam, but also in water, and that can have a long-term impact on health. I think also just monitoring things like lead in water or in old paint. We saw that in Milwaukee with the paint. And this is where I think also just knowing, regular exposure to pesticides, knowing what the air sample quality is around you, I live in Georgia, and there's been quite a bit of pollen lately as well. So I think just looking at some of the seasonal impacts of air quality too. But safe water, safe air, and safe food are really important, and that's something that we don't really have good data on.
Really?
Yes.
Talk us through that. We don't have good data on that.
No, like if you want to look at
when you say good, I'm sorry, Dr. Houry. When you say good data, my brain is going. I had two things happen: good versus quantity, or quantity versus quantity. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think really it's both. Like if you're looking at, let's say, a rural county in Alabama, I may not know, what contaminants are in the environment unless you're doing specific sampling, and so where's that sampling being done? The EPA might fund some of it, but not regularly and not, in every area. And so that's something to where a lot of, individuals may choose to sample their own, like, well water to see what is in there. And, a lot of the sampling that's done for water doesn't look at all contaminants or all bacteria. So this is an area that I think the United States really could do a lot more on to protect its citizens and to give people information on what are they being exposed to.
I read recently, so thank you for helping us with that. And I know that when we have you back on, I probably want to talk more about that, the intersection of our health to our environment as it relates to things that the EPA isn't doing, et cetera. So we'll tease everybody with that now, and we'll get to it later or at the next time we have you on. But we are, the United States, one of the largest, I think we're the second largest emitter of greenhouse gases. And that is a measuring stick. Could that be a place to start when we have the conversation around quantity and quality of information or data? Is that, do you see what I'm saying? Knowing what we can, I guess we know what we do. The data's out there, what we do. Can we use that as a tool to help us do a better job of abating those problems and being better health champions?
Yeah, I think you could look at that as one marker, but I think there's many things, to look at, like, how far is the community from, oil or gas manufacturing, the status of old pipes or old paint in different communities. All of those have different types of environmental contaminants that I think are important to really look at holistically as well. Got it.
All right, a couple of final questions, and one that's been in my brain. We have we got a Surgeon General issue.
Yes.
Boy, oh boy, you. Wow, what the heck is going on there, Dr. Houry? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I don't think I can say it much better than Trump's prior Surgeon General, Jerome Adams. I worked with both him and, Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General under Biden. Both were extremely qualified. Both had medical licenses. Both had practiced clinically before. Both had seen patients before. Both had done research. You look at the candidate right now, she never completed residency training. She doesn't have an active medical license. She hasn't, overseen any responses before to, health threats. So if this is who would be leading our nation during a pandemic or advising you on what to ask your doctor, if she hasn't been seeing patients regularly, I don't really see how she could be the nation's doctor. So I have grave concerns about giving her a pulpit, particularly when she and her family have had many conflicts of interest on different wellness products as well.
You were being incredibly gracious and kind in how you address that. Because I know that if me, you, and four other people were sitting around the table, that this conversation would go way differently in terms of how we describe her capabilities or lack thereof. So, but I respect that. I respect you respect the territory. Dr. Houry, it is always great to have you with us. When I see that we're going to be chatting with you and we have the opportunity to kind of pick your brain, it makes me smile because I know how hard and how dedicated you have been to the greater wealth and health of America. That is something that a lot of people, not a lot of people can say, but a lot of people should be proud that we have you out here fighting this good fight. As we wrap up, how you talked about this a little bit before, but I want to give this as we end the show today. So a couple of tools for people to kind of deal with and navigate where we are when we don't have the leadership, going back to your book, going back to your driving force, to actually guide us when it comes to health, guide us when it comes to disease prevention and monitorization. Give our audience all across the country a couple of sort of your go-to tips and go-to tools that you use at this point in time.
Yeah, so I would say go to the American Academy of Pediatrics or the American College of Physicians for latest vaccine recommendations. Fortunately, you can actually probably find those on the CDC website currently because there was an injunction, and so they've now been reversed or temporarily paused from what they had recently proposed. But in general, I would say go to some of the physician organizations for those. Local health departments and state health departments, some of them have actually delinked from CDC information when they have found it not to be valid. And so I think you can still go to your state health department to learn what's going on in your area with, whether it be environmental issues or other health conditions and where to get access. I think those are really great. And the final plug I would say is just because tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of when CDC were laid off. CDC Mutual Aid has a fundraiser, and you can find it on my LinkedIn page as well. 100% of the donations go directly to laid off CDC staff.
Got it. That's incredible, and we appreciate you sharing. She is the senior fellow in the Department of Chronic Disease and Epidemiology at Yale School of Public Health and principal at DH Leadership and Strategy Solutions, and also was advising on the PHNIX initiative. None other than Dr. Debra Houry. We appreciate you. The nation appreciates you for being who you are and continuing to provide the leadership that so many of us need. Thanks for being with us, Dr. Houry.
My pleasure. Have a good morning.
Talk to you soon. Bye now. All right, guys. Thanks for a great show. Thanks to Mike. Thanks to, I almost said Henry. That's tomorrow. Thanks to Devin and to Mike for being with us. Thanks to Dr. Houry, and thanks to Corbin for being with us as well. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And as we always say, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left for a week, a month, a year? What if you left for 2 years? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert, to teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go?
Spring is here and summer heat is right around the corner. Is your home ready to stay cool and energy efficient? At Green Attic, they help Chicagoland homeowners prepare their homes for rising temperatures. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic is a trusted expert in attic insulation, blow-in cellulose, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, mold remediation, and solar attic fan installation. When the sun heats up your attic, that trapped heat can force your air conditioner to work overtime. Proper insulation and ventilation helps keep your home cooler and lowers your energy bills. Green Attic also offers full-service roofing through Green Attic Roofing, including asphalt shingles, flat roofs, Da Vinci, Brava, Cedar, Tesla solar roof, and solar panels options, all backed by the industry's 10-year labor warranty. Spring is the perfect time to fix insulation problems and aging roofs before the summer heat and storm season arrive. Schedule your free insulation consultation today at greenattic.com or get an instant roofing estimate at greenatticroofing.com. Green Attic, healthy home, happy family. Jose and Laura came to Brookfield Tax Planning worried about their taxes. After their free, no-obligation tax reduction review, they discovered they'd been overpaying $8,100 every year for 28 years. That's $227,000 of hard-earned money gone forever. Why? Jose and Laura's financial advisor did nothing to reduce their taxes, and their accountant records history after the year ends when it's too late to use legal, proactive tax reduction strategies for business owners and retirees. 94% of Brookfield's clients discover they've wasted thousands for years due to passive advisors. Brookfield Tax Planning reviews your returns free and can show you how much you're overpaying, how to plan ahead now to stop it. You risk nothing. But this may be the most profitable hour you'll invest all year. Call Brookfield Tax Planning at 708-485-3439 or visit BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com. That's BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious, with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says he visited U.S. service members in the Middle East. He also said he would not disclose the base names or locations for operational security. He spoke at a news conference from the Pentagon today. Hegseth said he visited areas under the responsibility of U.S. Central Command on Saturday for about half a day and said he, quote, witnessed the best of America. On Truth Social today, President Trump said countries upset by high fuel prices should, quote, go get your own oil, as Iran maintains its chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz. The AAA has reported the U.S. average for gas has jumped past an average of $4 a gallon for the first time since 2022. Authorities in Dubai say they contained a Kuwaiti oil tanker after it came under attack from Iran. Officials added there was no oil leakage and no injuries reported. And AP correspondent Isabel Dubray reports the United Nations is meeting to discuss the killings of Indonesian peacekeepers in Lebanon.
We heard that 2 of the peacekeepers were killed when some kind of explosion hit their vehicle, also seriously wounding another peacekeeper as well. And that came just several hours after, in a different area of southern Lebanon, some kind of projectile hit the UN peacekeeping post, killing another Indonesian peacekeeper. So the United Nations tells us that, look, these are incidents that are under investigation. We don't know at the moment where that explosion came from, what was the cause of it that hit the vehicle. Separately, we don't know where the projectile came from that hit the post, if it was fired by Israel, if it was fired by Hezbollah. They're still investigating the circumstances, but what is clear is that this is a quite major escalation, especially for the UN, this neutral party in the conflict. We heard a lot of condemnation from different UN officials today, calling this an unacceptable incident, really stressing that these kinds of incidents should not happen, even if there is a war going on, that peacekeepers should be protected.
This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. Top seeds Texas and South Carolina are headed back to the women's Final Four. Joyce Edwards had 24 points and 12 rebounds to help the Gamecocks best third-seeded TCU 78-52 in the Elite Eight.
Coach always said the Elite Eight is going to be one of the hardest games in the tournament. But, I mean, it just shows us our resilience.
Madison Booker scored 19, and the Longhorns routed second-seeded Michigan 77-41. South Carolina will face top overall seed UConn next Friday in a title game rematch. Texas will play fellow top seed UCLA. NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 47 points carried the Thunder past the Pistons 114-110 in overtime of a potential NBA Finals preview. NHL, the Maple Leafs fired general manager Brad Treliving. The NFL is set to hire replacement officials, and the Super Bowl is returning to Las Vegas in 2029.
I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies and a high into the mid-70s. Breezy southwest winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 37. By Wednesday, a chance for rain showers, cloudy, high 44 degrees. Thursday, a chance for rain and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 71. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 64.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Teachers are dynamic leaders, shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. Achieving this takes skill and expertise. They're tireless explorers, creatively discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, experimenting, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, and connecting with each other, leading by example. Experience the unique joy of helping students thrive. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready to begin? explore teaching at teach.org. A campaign supported by the U.S. Department of Education, Teach.org, and 1 million teachers of color.
Are you looking for more in this world? Are you ready for something bigger? Then we are looking for you. The big-hearted, the bold, the messy and the gutsy. The teachers, the growers, the builders. The skilled, the sharers, the change makers. We need you. We are the Peace Corps. In more than 60 countries, we go all in and all out. We are volunteers, partners, communities, working together, living together, bringing our experience, passion, and joy to building a better world together. From tackling climate change in Mexico to keeping kids healthy in Kenya, from sustainable farming in the Philippines to education in Kosovo. We learn more, give more, share freely, and serve boldly. Are you ready to tackle the tough stuff? To go the distance to make a difference? Then we have a place where you belong. Join us at peacecorps.gov.
This is WCPT.